pure gaping.
I was going to say, Jude, how are we? Very good.
There we go.
Very good.
Testing. One,
Testing.
two, that's all done.
That's right.
Hey, we never did any of that. You don't do that anymore, Jude.
I'm listening to you.
Do we get to edit? Do we get to
No,
pop that
straight
back?
out. Straight out. It's actually live. It's actually live right
Live,
now.
it's going straight on YouTube. YouTube live right now.
No, it's not. It's
It'd
not.
be cool if we could do that.
It would be. Jude, we need to
That
look into
depends who
that.
you're talking to.
We need to look into that. Jude.
Maybe not with Crazy down there.
So that
I
one.
still haven't watched that. I did see
The new one?
Sent to me already.
And some act to follow,
It's
Crazy
3
and Marty.
hours.
Like,
It's 3 hours long now.
Jesus, it is not.
It is. It's nearly 3 hours long, and it's us three talking to Crazy Donnelly and Marty. Like,
he done the
100%.
classes for a while too. The Irish
He
classes.
would have.
Yeah, I would say
yeah.
he's
Took
big
a
in
wee
his
bit of a
history
run
and
at
stuff
it.
like
He was,
that.
he was giving me some words and phrases for tonight.
He was.
He gave me this one. I don't know if he's put me in or not. So, Fulcha Ruat.
You're welcome.
Well,
serious, John?
Aye. Well, that's me welcoming them to the podcast. Here, I thought
But actually, to fault your row for because there's more than one of
because
us.
it's more than one.
Fulcha Here, I need to start going to classes.
This is going to be so bad.
Listen,
That's okay. It's
that's
every
the-
day school day.
that's
That's
the
it,
last
that's it.
time I'll try any of that.
No, try away.
No,
But that's,
just-
if you were speaking to one person, you would say Fulcha Rowat.
Right,
Ruat.
okay.
But if it's more than one, it's Rowev.
Ruiv.
So it's like AIBH, but
Right.
it's pronounced Rowev.
And would you say Irish is a hard language
Yes,
to
it
learn?
is.
Was it? I was saying to Fergal, you tried it as well, Duolingo.
I lasted about a couple
We're
of
all
minutes.
in
I'm
Duolingo.
doing Spanish on
Are
it as
you?
well, and French.
How do you rate the Irish?
Well, it's not Ulster Irish.
Yes,
but,
That's the thing, yeah.
but there's an awful lot of it very like near enough,
Aye.
very similar enough to be better than not having anything. Let's put it that way.
So what type of region of Ireland is that?
It would be
Duolingo
more like
Irish?
would it be
Connemara.
Connemara and that, I would
I
say,
found
yeah.
I found it good, like in terms of like the foundation of it. I don't know how much
is,
would it
I
would be,
agree.
but I wasn't confident in the voices, you know, to give you the real pronunciation of it. So, like, I look at the words now and I could tell you what they are, but I couldn't
The
say. I
phonetics,
feel it needs to be
yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
Like I did 100. I think I did nearly 180 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's maybe five minutes a day or something like that. Just practice.
Oh, I've killed that
And
book so many times.
And at the end of it, I was just like, I don't feel confident
Yeah.
to have a conversation.
No, you go and you
know,
say
so how
GH to somebody, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
they come out
Then
with
they
a
come
mouthful
out.
of stuff, and you
sort
go,
of
"What?"
like, how far do you go with this at the same
yeah.
time? And
It's probably
like,
better for vocabulary, probably like
Yeah,
yeah.
Definitely.
But we've learnt words from that, like when we
Yeah.
go to classes and courses and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And every so often a word comes up, or somebody will ask what a word is, and we'll know it.
From
But we've got it
Duolingo.
from Duolingo, and we've never come across it anywhere
Ah,
else.
okay.
So that is useful.
So you learn a wee bit from it as
You
well
definitely
here
do,
and
and it's
there.
repetitive. Like it's very repetitive. Repeat.
Would the
repeat.
provinces you mentioned there, Ulster and the different regions, would they have a lot of similarities and then a lot of differences
Yeah,
as well? Like so, it is.
cosigns, yeah.
It's
Some
that how
of-
it's split?
Some of them are just like different dialogue or dialect, and some of them are just totally different word.
Yeah.
But
Ulster Irish is way different from any
Yeah.
of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Has it always been that way, or is it
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
It's just sort of the area you're in. It forms a language in
Yeah.
that sense. But
Well, I mean, you've Ulster Irish, and then you've got Donegal, which is a different
another
thing
separate-
again.
really,
And then you've
Yeah.
got Connemara, Galway, and then
Wow.
Kerry, Cork, and
suppose-
Dublin, and they're all. It's like English. I mean,
Like
you go to
Castleross and
Liverpool,
Kirkstone.
Newcastle,
they're
they're
all
all different,
split up in the regions.
different types
I
of
suppose like
accent.
it would have felt far away back then, so maybe that's why the language didn't.
Well, like, 'cause
travel.
travel, I mean, people didn't travel them distances
Exactly,
like they do now. So I have friends from Galway and they're Gaelgore, and they do speak Irish to me sometimes, but I struggle even in
Yeah.
English with them, to be honest. But their Irish is they're very, what's that word, like
Guttural.
guttural. You know
Yeah.
that, like,
It's common.
and they're difficult now to understand.
But then the rural side of it, to your point, where I mean, the whole Irish was pushed out to the margins, so they weren't getting the the connections in the big cities and that sort of thing that you maybe would have done. That was marginalised and pushed out as a poverty, it's a sign of poverty almost.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was actually reading into that. It was really interesting. It was kind of like we were trying to banish the language, and it got to the stage where it was a sign of poverty and the actual
exactly. Yeah.
of your upbringing and how you should be seen if you're speaking a language like
It's
that.
like English. They said English was the language of the future. So if you wanted to prosper, that you had to learn English. I remember being told that when I was going to university, that French was the language of the future.
Irish,
I was told Spanish.
And I did it to A level, and I've
told French.
probably used it about twice since since I left school. So
Now Irish has surpassed French
in
in
schools.
schools.
Yeah, for GCSE.
Big resurgence of Irish, isn't it?
absolutely.
It's
Very good.
fantastic.
Hey, so welcome Graeme, Siobhan and Eimear. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Just to give everybody some context, we reached out, myself and Fergal used to have like an office that overlooked the market yard, and we were just in awe of the potential of it constantly, you know, because our windows were literally just
You can see in it.
and you just stand there every day and go, that place, that needs to
What a
become
waste.
something. And we're literally just sitting there, we need to do this, we need to do that, you know, tell the council to do this and all this. But that's basically how we found each other anyway. And I was actually Kevy Donnelly as well, mentioned yous as well, and then I seen yous were doing lessons around the town as well. So you're very welcome. But I wanted to go through sort of each is, you know, one at a time, just a wee bit about yourselves, and then just a bit of a format for different wee bits of you know the area, and then get into the market yard and other wee aspects of it. So starting with yourself, Graeme. Born raised locally.
No, born in Australia and lasted about 9 months there.
Too warm, man.
Well, mum and dad were the original £10 poems. I don't know if you've heard of the £10 poems, but there was Australia put on a massive campaign to get people over to work, and it cost £10 in 1969 or thereabouts. So they left at the start of the Troubles, and £10 it cost them to get over. Mum thought Dad was joking the whole time, thought it would never happen until she was sitting on the plane, and then that was it. Yeah,
That's class.
so I was born over there, and Mum was homesick, so we came back. Disaster.
Disaster of a country. So what was primary school and high school for you?
Primary school started off in Tullygalley in Lurgan, so Mum and Dad are both from Lurgan, so went to Tullygalley in Lurgan until P4, and then came to Magherafelt and went to St Joseph's as it was then. So yeah, that was.
Do you like school?
It wasn't too bad. So I had primary school was St Joseph's, then I went to the Rainey. Went to a Rainey, again, product of a mixed marriage, so all my mates went to a convent, and me and another fella, Nicholas McIver, were the only two out of the school went to Rainey. So I really was great. I had no issues. Stood me in good stead. So
Much rugby at it? Did you play much rugby?
I did play rugby. Actually gave it up in 5th year, believe it or not, to play football. I wanted to play football, and that lasted a year, and then I went back to rugby. So
You pull on the boots again, will you?
I've run out of boots. I've left that many pairs hanging in the changing room. I can't afford them anymore. As you know, John, I retired about 4 times.
Oh, I've retired. I've been retired 4 years, but I'm still like great. I'm
going back this year.
When's my next?
What age are you now?
33.
33, and you retired 4 years.
Not retired properly, no.
I think I was playing when I was 35. Like an agent.
I'll get a few more years. I'll see the crack. I just tell everybody I'm retired. Like I plan to come back. They're actually starting a touch in April.
Aye, they did that out in the Meadowbank there.
They're planning on like set games, like actual wee teams and stuff, and you pay £50 for 6 weeks, and it's all like properly structured. So it's for like people like me that don't play much rugby.
And that was the good thing. I mean, we went straight from school to the Rainey Old Boys, and let's say I had a ball for the Rainey Old Boys for
class
for 17 odd years.
Did you have any Irish influence in school?
Not at all. Nothing. I'm I suppose a convert. I was browbeat into it by Siobhan, actually. I mean, like, the background to, again, for me it was Killowen. Whenever they started the knee school in Killowen, Siobhan wanted our daughter to go, and like most parents now that we meet who are afraid to go through that cycle of I couldn't speak the language, was afraid what we'd do with homework, can't help homework, and she said, well, let's just try it for a year and see what happens. And after a year, when you see a kid of 4 just soaking up all of the language, speaking it, doing plays in it, doing nursery rhymes in it at 4 years of age, and you think maybe there's something a wee bit special in this, and that's where I got started. And then Damien McConaughey, who was the chairperson at the time, co-opted me on the parents committee when I wasn't there at a meeting. So the next thing I got an email from Damien, congratulations, by the way, you've been elected onto the committee. And I go, what the fuck? I wasn't even at the meeting. How did I get signed up for that? And then, I was on the committee, and then we opened the primary school, the Gael school, and Damien hung about till about a month after the opening of that, and then he resigned, and then I was the chairperson of the school for 5 years. And at that stage I'd started learning as well. But prior to that, zilch, nothing.
Very good. Later in life then, what age was that?
Well, 2005 we opened 2009 we opened the Gael school, so that was 24 years we opened the Gael school, and then Amy was there 2 years before that, so 2007.
How did you find it yourself in the learning?
The Irish? Well, I'm a bit of I like languages, so I'd done French at school, I'd say a bit of German, a bit of Spanish, and it definitely helps you once you get 1 or 2 languages. The structures come, and I found the structures and that sort of thing easy enough. The problem with Irish is the spelling. They just it's like a Scrabble. Just stick down there. We'll stick an A and an I and a wee grav or like a fad over there, and you're just thinking to yourself. And that's the one thing about Irish. Other languages, you can make a stab at pronunciation just by looking at it. You'll never do that with Irish unless you know the sounds, and once you get to know the sounds, then you're fine. But you couldn't just pick up a book and start pronouncing it. It's very different.
How did you find the homeworks then? Because
Amy's homework. No, well, the whole thing about homework and what we've said to parents ever since is that homework is not for the parents to do; it's for the kids to do as a check on what they've learned in school that day. So if the kids are going home and the parents are doing the homework for them, the teachers never find out that the kid's struggling. So we never had any bother with it. Amy thankfully, touch wood, was a model student, so she did very well. And I know, did you have any issues with Shay?
No, never had any issues. But again, I think that was nearly a benefit. Like if you didn't have the Irish language, because
you couldn't help.
You couldn't help, and the
you
teacher
can't.
was aware of what help maybe they needed. So, but no, never had any issues. And do you know what? There's so many more resources now for parents that maybe don't have the language. Even on the school website, there's links and stuff to different resources and stuff. So there's lots of things out there. Yeah,
to be helped. That's brilliant.
Very good. What about your profession? What are you into?
I'm a health and safety director for a property management company. So my degree in university was geology, believe it or not. I studied rocks, and then moved into environmental sciences, and that led me into the world of health and safety, which I've now done for nearly 30 years.
Very good. Ignore all these wires.
Exactly.
What wires? Is that framed up? Can that see the wires?
Of course it can.
Do you mean all the ones that are taped? All the ones that are taped down.
They're all taped up.
They're all taped down there.
I'm just looking at game off each guy.
It's model for sure.
Just watch your step when you get up to the toilet. All right.
That's the claims protected now.
Very good. How long have you been a part of the organisation itself?
Well, as I say, joined the knee school committee in 2007 or thereabouts. So then I'm still a trustee of the school. I was 5 years at the Gael school, and then I stepped aside as well. But I'm still a trustee of the school, and Siobhan and Eimear very much take the day-to-day running of the group. And then we got the market yard, and Siobhan brought me back on board to run that as a project. Like I didn't have enough to do with my full-time job.
What are projects as well?
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Siobhan, born and raised locally?
Yeah, Magherafelt, born and raised.
What was your influence in the house when you were younger? Was there any Irish influences in the house?
Not really. No, and through school as well, we were encouraged to do French. Not the best advice I ever had, but however. But no, we had really no Irish influence at all. I had no family members that had Irish. But again, when Amy started school, we were just absolutely amazed at this wee child coming home with the words.
Like a sponge.
It is absolutely, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then, because when she finished knee school, there was no primary school. So it was either we had to open one or we had to forget about it. We actually looked at going up to Carn or Ballinascreen at that point as well. But
that's a bit of a drive, though.
Well, for a 5-year-old,
bad
you know,
roads as well.
So then
100%.
myself and Eimear and Graeme and a couple of our parents decided, right, this is it. So we're going to have to try and do something here. So we decided to open the school.
What about your own schools? Primary school, high school?
I went to convent, or well, St Mary's primary school was then, and St Pius's secondary school.
What about your own profession? Are you full time at this now, or?
I'm absolutely full time at this. Full time volunteer. No money involved, unfortunately. My background would be in banking, which comes in useful, all right, as
Definitely.
well.
Yeah.
But and I'm an organizer. I'm just a born organizer. I organize everything and everybody.
Busybody, some
It's
might
what
say.
I do.
How did you
could use that.
How did you get into the organisation yourself? Like,
Well,
how did you-
again, when we were all on the board, and you know, when the school opened, and then once we stepped away from the sort of school side of things, once the EA had come in, because it was self-funded. Like, we had to self-fund the first year of it. That was £40,000 we had to raise first year. That was a tough year, but we got there and we did it. And
More, I think it was about 50 grand. We
yeah.
had to
You
raise
must have
the
done
first
well
year.
with a budget of that size, because that doesn't sound big for.
well, we had one teacher.
Yeah.
Do you know,
yeah.
and then like we were buying, like I was buying egg poachers out of Tesco because it was
Yeah.
cheaper than buying paint pots, and you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
was like, it was just, but I mean, it did the job, and
Very good.
we got through the year. And then once the EA came in and took over, and the school was funded in the second year, because we got up to our designated number of pupils, we decided instead of stepping back and doing nothing, we'd start the Glór, Eimear and myself.
There's nothing else to do.
Because we had absolutely nothing else, and we were both working. I mean, well, Eimear still works, but I was working full time at that point as well. And then we just started running classes, and it just grew and grew and grew after that. So
Very good. Immer, yourself?
Yep.
Born and raised?
So I'm originally from Slaughtneil. Yep, born there, and I lived there until I got married. So I'm here about 20 years now.
How are you enjoying it? Magherafelt?
Well, I'm in the loop.
Oh, you're in the loop?
Yeah, just outside Magherafelt.
Not a tiny yet.
No. So yeah, grand. I went to Glenview Mhachaire, and then went to St Pat's Mhachaire.
That's right.
Oh,
I
is
was
it?
Spats for 2 years.
So done Irish at St Pat's for 6 years.
Very good.
My brother was one of the first ones to go to there was a first Gael school in South Derry, so he was one of the very first pupils there.
Class.
They had to self-fund for 7 years, so I remember my mum and dad out.
7 years.
Yeah, I remember my
Wow.
mum and dad out. So I suppose the passion just came through.
Yeah.
And I always sort of had thought the kids would go to some sort of Irish medium education. So when I seen the knee school in Mhachaire then, or Magherafelt, it was a no-brainer, but
Very good.
no school, so
Slagnell seems to have that sort of
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
tradition, doesn't it?
Brilliant what a community can do. Like, 7 years self-funded. Like,
I mean, I
You
can
said
tell you
1 year there, and I said, wow.
1 year. I mean,
I was
I
like,
can tell
wow.
you the sleepless nights that
Yeah.
I wondered where the next pound was coming from to pay a young teacher who'd only come out of school, out
Yeah.
of university.
take a chance on us as well.
And,
Like,
you're literally going around Asda picking up animals for the kids, to do bits and pieces and play
Projects and
with,
stuff,
and going to local schools asking had they any old stuff they were going to throw out.
yeah.
Nuts.
And when you sit back now and think, yeah, we raised 50 grand. I mean, we were doing poker nights in here, we were doing
Yeah.
dinners, we were doing dances, and
Amazing.
you did a
Fashion show, yeah.
and
Anything that we could
table
make a bit of
quizzes,
money,
you name
yeah.
it. I mean, we were at it.
that was a lot of money, and it's a lot of years ago. It's 15 years now. That's a lot of money to raise 15 years ago.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of work,
100%.
but it was really worth it. So, but it was hard at the time. It was.
It was stressful, but yeah, it was worth it in the end.
Nuts. You mentioned your profession. What do you?
No, I'm actually a classroom assistant in the Irish School Magherafelt here in
brilliant.
Gaeltacht. Yeah.
Very good. Staying close to it then.
Oh yes.
Keeping an eye on it.
Need the practice.
Very good. Very good. How long have you been a part of the organisation as a whole?
Same.
From the start,
It's all
yeah.
sort of around the same time.
Yeah.
It just came together.
So my oldest kid and Siobhán and Graeme's daughter were the same class. They were the very first kids to start the
very
school.
good.
So
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. I was going to move on just to even the school a wee bit. I actually didn't have it wrote down, but it sounds very interesting. So can you share a wee bit about setting up a school and what you sort of need to think about, especially in an Irish school that.
Well, again, I suppose there's a bit of self-preservation involved in it. With say the kids had gone through nursery school for 2 years, and then you're thinking, "Oh, what's next?" It'll be a shame to lose that.
Yeah.
And we had some support from a group called Orla and Gaeltacht, who Orla means advice. They're the local body who sets up schools and supports them, and inventive and Gaeltacht are the funding body who provided us with a lot of funds and helped us out in that first year quite a bit. And as I say, it was either a choice of we lose those 2 years or we give them something else to achieve, and we got together and we decided we'd put another mobile classroom on the existing site in Killowen. So there was one mobile classroom for the knee school, and we decided we'd put another mobile classroom, squeeze it in behind it for the first 2 years. That would get us enough. And we got 8 kids the first year. Our kids were 2 of the first 8. And we got a local teacher, Orla and Marty, as I said, and we got ready to set up. And I don't know if you remember, but I think the school was supposed to start in September, and we were sitting at the end of July, start of August, and hadn't got it sorted at that stage.
Is that the funding, or is that
anything? There was no classroom. There was nothing. I mean, there was just a concrete,
just a
plinth, a playground where we were going to put this. And one of the parents hadn't signed up to any other school. She was got confident that this school was going to go ahead. She hadn't registered for any other school, so she was starting to freak out that this wasn't going to happen. And I mentioned Orla to Gaeltacht there. I remember they came up and had a meeting. We had a meeting in our kitchen, and
A lot of meetings in our kitchen.
and Micheál O'Div, who was the head of Orla to Gaeltacht, came down that day, and he said, "You haven't convinced me that you're going to be able to get the financing for this, so I'm pulling the plug." And you talk about a whiff of air being let out of the balloon in the room, and we were just all completely stunned. And then we sort of didn't know what to do, and there's a guy called Remy and Niall who helped us out a great deal in the early years, and Neil O'Cahan from Slough Niall, who's Mr. Irish Language, absolutely phenomenal guy. How he puts his days, how he's enough hours in the day, I don't know. He runs a construction firm, he runs Carn up in Slough Niall. He farms. How he does it all, I've absolutely no idea.
It's one of those.
But we met with Remy and Neil and said, look, Micheál said he's pulling the plug on this, and basically both of them said, tell him to fuck himself. That's basically that's what they said. So they said, it's your school, if you want to open it, you tear away. He's got nothing to do with it.
Because we weren't independent at that point, we weren't affiliated to the education authorities.
So we said, well, what about the classroom and all the rest of it? And the day after, I was driving up through Killowen, and there Pat McVey was plonking a mobile unit down in
the mobile building systems. Those guys just plant class
from the loop. So that was the start of it.
Very good. Very good.
That's great. And then was the funding done before that, or
no, absolutely not. We were starting.
So how did you get the money together?
Well, Philip from Inventive gave us, I think, 10 grand to start with, which at that stage was probably about 4 months' wages for
and that was enough to
teacher,
get
to get us started. But that's what I said. Once we got that 4 months over, then we're always.
But it was fundraising throughout the whole year. You were always thinking of the next event to raise money.
And then
fire under
Orla was just straight out of school, so again, she was quite rightly looking out for herself and making sure that she was sorted out and getting pensions and all of the rest of it sorted out, and we were just trying to scrabble the money together to get our salary together. And then she wanted a classroom assistant in, and we got a guy in from Magherafelt called Marty Burt, or Swatra. Lavi. And Marty Burt did the first year for nothing. Worked full time as a volunteer for absolutely nothing for us.
Fair play.
He ended up going in as a language assistant in the convent after that. So yeah, he helped us out massively at that stage. So we were literally living month by month trying to get it over with. And then every year there used to be a big event up in the Europa up in Belfast, where all the Irish language groups came together, and every year it was. The funds were allocated to one school, and our second year then we were the beneficiaries of that, and we got a fair 16 grand or something we lifted off that. Chunk. So that was half the money that we'd got just right there. So, but it was tough. I say plenty of.
And then
after
the first year, you got funded then,
After the first year, we got the required number to get the funds. Again, composite class at that stage, so we had a P1 and a P2 in the same mobile, but it was small numbers, so it was no problem. And then we started thinking about, well, what do we do for the next year?
For the next year, yeah.
Did we get a third?
We did. We had
got
a third mobile
on, which bought us another 2 years. And then we approached the housing executive to say we want to extend out into the land around the Killowen there on the green. And about a week later, I went down to the school and there was a guy taking photographs. And I said, "What are you doing taking photographs to the school?" And he said, "I work for the Northern Ireland Housing Executive." And he says, "I'm taking photographs for planting trees." And they literally put a big flower bed, which is still there today in Killowen, where we had told them we were going to put another mobile, and planted out trees all over the place, and said, "No, you're not getting that land," effectively. And they said at that stage they wanted to kick us off the land because they wanted to put social housing on that green. And
still no social housing.
we fought. I mean, that was the whole thing about it. I mean,
Is this in Killowen?
yeah, it's still green.
I know where you're at. I whenever you mentioned it there, I can imagine it in my
Still
head.
green with trees growing like flower bed. But I mean, it literally was a fight. Everything we wanted to do was a fight, and housing executive was a fight. Department of Education was a fight. North Eastern Education Board was a fight. I mean, it was just it was like the world was against you.
It was relentless.
I mean, it was.
It was crazy, like the passion it must have took to keep going, because like very easily it was like, right, we go to a different school. Well, you know what I mean?
That's it. I mean, I think once you're sort of in, then you're sort of nearly forced.
You're pig-headed. You're like, they're not going to beat me now, are
exactly. This isn't going to beat me. We're going to stick. I'm not going to look like a prize chimp by walking away from this. So,
the Magherafelt will probably end up.
Oh Jesus, that'll be the next thing.
So, enjoy a challenge. I'll give you that.
So then we got a lady up in the North Eastern Education Board who was really good, and we got the school moved up to top of Fairhill, where it is now, in the old nursery school, and then got the nursery school moved down to
Down in Magherafelt old primary site,
primary school, the car park for the old primary school, down
yes.
at the bottom of Queen's Avenue there, and still fighting hard now to get the main school down there as well. So
the site's been approved, but it's just money, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Bit of construction as well, then.
Well, I think part of the school there is actually good nick, and then there's the older part of it's just rotten. So they couldn't really say they got the controlled primary, the new school down Castle Dawson Road there, so they couldn't really say, well, that school is not fit for consumption, but we're going to stick an Irish school in it. It's been a long road for that. I would say it must be 15 years we're battling on that one as well.
Yeah,
so,
I think Shane and me were probably rang a tree when that first
We
started.
thought they might make it, and
It's crazy when you can say my kids were that age when we started that. You know, it just shows how long this shite happens for. Like, it's crazy.
When our wee girl learned, it was like, oh, Mommy, when are we going to get a hall? And when are we going to get a home canteen? Because it was just
we were bringing in dinners from the convent. The convent were supplying our dinners, school dinners.
Magherafelt Primary are supplying our school dinners. We still have no hall. We have to use like the halls. So the lower end of the school use the Baptist church. We use there for sports, and the upper end of the school uses Meadowbanks. They have to walk down there to do their PE. So we're still fighting to
get a few facilities.
To get together,
And
bring it all together.
And then if that wasn't bad enough, Eimear then joined the committee of the man's school up in the Gael College up in Dungiven.
Yeah, you know.
So that opened when our
That was
kids
2015,
were
so they were in
P6,
Rangashock, yeah.
Rangashock, and then
Very good.
they were the second group then to go into Dungiven. So our kids have gone through the whole
And they never had a
thing.
canteen there either, because that school was just sort of getting on its feet as well, and I think they left just as that all started.
It's just opened this year, so they just missed it by a year or two. Yeah.
God, it really shows the light on the lack of funding that is given
And
out.
the other thing is
There's a lack of will as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing was we never had first day nerves at school. Our kids were they just flowed through onto a new school. The new school was just their mates going through. So there was never that big school issue or anything like that as well. And I think one of the benefits for us that sort of we still try and sell is that at that stage there was a classroom of 12 kids. You've got 12 kids or 10 kids in a classroom who are getting the attention of a teacher.
Yeah.
That's so
I was
good.
going to say that, like, it
You
sounds
know,
very
so-
personable, like, it's very, a lot
exactly,
more personable.
and
Most of
you know,
30
and
plus.
And
Yeah.
everybody knows everybody. Like, up in the Gael
Yeah.
College, like there's 350 maybe there now, but all the teachers know all the pupils, and all the pupils know all the teachers, and there's like a homely feel about it. And
And it's all first name. You know your teachers.
Yeah, the
people
teachers aren't
call the
called-
teachers by their first name.
it's
you
not
know,
Mr. or
usually
Mrs. It's,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
called by
Yeah.
their names. So,
Very good. I was going to move on to the market yard. It keeps coming up because it's obviously an exciting thing. So actually, tell me a wee bit about it, because I only seen it a few months ago. As it says, it just absolutely shocked me to see it.
He lost his mind, so he
I
did. John.
completely lost.
It's been
my
a dream of
mind.
John's.
I wouldn't get too excited.
you can join the committee.
Here, maybe. I need to learn a bit of Irish first to be worthy.
No.
To be worthy of that.
He's a good organizer too, by the way.
There we go.
The project it just sounds phenomenal. And Karen, I've been hanging around it for the last few years. With, like, I do wee bits of art, Irish pieces of art with an artist, and I just came down and I was doing these wee bits of art and was connected to Irish folk music, and I just didn't realise what was in Carn. I didn't realise the extent of it.
So much of it.
And then I went in and I chatted to them about the whole place, and I just couldn't believe what it was. It was this community, and it, like, definitely for me, I was like, wow, I think a lot of people should be involved in this. I want to be involved in something like this. And then when that popped up, I messaged them guys. I was like, holy shit, this is happening.
It's actually happening.
In the market yard that has been known as a desert wasteland for so long because of lease things and different things. So tell us about that. Like, how did that even come upon you?
Again, I mentioned Neil O'Cahan from Snock Neil. He's in the
Man's a genius.
I swear to God,
Also the chairperson in the board of governors.
literally, he said, I've been doing a bit of digging here, and I think we could get the market yard. And I says, what do you mean? So I thought the trustees owned the market yard, and he says, well, yeah, they do, but you can get the lease. And Oakleaf had the lease at that stage and had plans for apartments and additional buildings and the yard itself there. So Niall approached the Oakleaf guys and a bit of negotiation, and we bought them out of the lease, and that was funded by a group called Ankishja and Yes Dialects. Nearly said that in one go. And that's basically an investment fund for Irish language. So we got funding from them to buy the lease and have a small bit aside. But the next step now is getting the funding for the development. So if anybody's expecting any massive developments in the next couple of months, it's not going to happen quite that quickly.
Yeah.
So still a lot
So
of.
if there are any philanthropists out there listening,
Very handsome and with a lot of money.
John, do we have any
A lot of
philanthropists
euro
listening?
either as well, like anybody down south.
and any sort of money at all, we'll take any and all currency. Yeah.
Very good.
So a few things in the pipeline funding wise, but again, it's a drop in the ocean. I mean, the building itself, as you say, it's been derelict now for about 20 years, and the community have long said we need to get something in there. Let's run a farmers market. Let's run, let's put something in there. But the reality is, it's just not ever going to meet any modern day standards until somebody.
Have you been inside it?
Oh yeah, regular.
What's the inside like?
It's actually surprisingly solid. It's sound,
And dry.
but it's
Really?
yeah.
How much of that do you have, if you don't mind me asking, like what do you have in terms of not even the square footage, but do you have the inside of the actual building
All of it.
connected
All
to
of
it?
it. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
massive,
And
though.
it's solid, like it's
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can.
About
I
10,000
always,
square
by the
foot.
look of it, I always thought that doesn't look
Yeah.
like it's going to last.
No, it's
Still solid. Like
it's
that's
still
class.
it's still. You want to see the beams in it? I mean, there's
Yeah.
like
Beautiful.
fit-
They're
fit
probably
thick with
amazing
beams
looking
in
too.
it.
Like
They're
imagine the
still
year of
there.
them.
But it's funny. I was up with my mum and dad's house in Parkmore after the storm, and they lost all their ridge tiles, and went down to the market yard.
Oh.
That was built solid as a rock.
Solid
Solid as a
construction
rock.
back in days,
Wow.
The-
I love the windows. I think the big windows.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We
It's a
love them,
beautiful
like-
building.
And again, obviously, as a listed building, we'll have to
Yeah, you have to keep
something
eye,
to keep,
you have to keep-
that, which
It's still-
takes money in itself as well.
Aye. It's,
Yeah,
sad,
that's
it's
true.
sad that it takes more money, but it is also
Yeah,
it's nice
yeah.
to preserve too.
It's
like
an amazing building.
It's
like,
beautiful.
The walls are literally.
Yeah.
About 18 inches thick.
obviously it's Market Yard. Did you delve into the history at all yourselves about?
We have. I mean, 1836 was whenever there was a first a market there. It was a market square at that stage where they did the pig dealing, and then obviously the building itself was the bottom of it was pig pens and
right.
seed. Then went up to a seed mill up at the top level there. So, but still a lot of original features there.
Yeah, there's a
Weighbridge or whatever,
inside.
Yeah,
the
big
cap-
weighbridge still in there.
Wow.
Yeah, big set of scales.
And it goes literally from floor to ceiling. You've
Yeah.
never seen anything like
Oh,
that.
you have to keep it. You
Well,
keep
we're gonna try in
Like the
some
building
way.
with fold
Put it
down.
somewhere.
We're gonna try.
Put it somewhere.
But again, we've been talking to the likes of Chamber of Commerce about trying to get into the yard there. Maybe in the meantime get something like a monthly farmers market or
Yeah.
get the Christmas market in there again.
That'd be brilliant.
I think
That'd be
that's
so good.
That's where they're
Christmas
keen to
market
do
would
that
be great
too.
to have that in there. Like I think
Yeah.
someone mentioned it. I've seen a lot of people mention online that they prefer that's the best place it's ever been.
Yeah.
You know, in that
Although
It's not closing off the whole town. This
Well,
is like-
that's-
yeah, but
that's
it's,
what the
it's
chamber-
controlling crowds, and you know
Yeah.
it's easy to maneuver people around the town and designate things.
Absolutely.
I remember it. It was definitely class. It was a
Although I
lot
think
better.
the council are still keen on keeping it in the middle of the town, so we'll have to.
So we'll just do a better one.
Aye, well, that's what the chamber said. We'll just we'll do our own thing.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, a lot of money needed to get into the main building itself. We're going to try and do it on a phased basis.
Stages,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to try
brilliant.
and get in.
So I know it's early days, but have you put much thought into what you want to get out of it? You know, like how have you? What's the sort of split up, and what are you maybe thinking of putting in? Not holding you to it, by the way.
No.
I know things can change and ideas change, but what's the kind of core idea to it?
Well, I mean, the core idea is for us to get a base for
the Glór.
the Glór to run from. So meeting rooms, offices, things of that nature that I suppose can double up as multi-use spaces. So we could have an office that would double up as a meeting room for classes, or breakout rooms and things like that. Pool room, for the kids to use or whatever. So I think that's the main thing at this stage is to try and get the offices and meeting spaces in there. In the second floor at the back over from the other side from Rainy Street, the other car park side, there's absolutely a massive big hall in there. You want to see the size of it. It's huge with really low beams in it. But again, we'd like to try and keep that as a big meeting hall. A meeting space as well.
It must be just hidden in there, is it? Like you don't even
I mean,
realise it's there.
as I say, it's just literally you wouldn't even know there's a big empty hall in there till you go in there. And again, there's probably about eight big low hanging A-frame beams, the traditional beams that were there originally, and we'd like to try and keep those in there as well. The front part of the building is actually pretty decent in terms of structure. Again, Kennedy's used that for probably most recently for the shop whenever Robin was doing doing up the whole yard at the back there, which is now where Domino's and
Oh yes,
the Chippy is and that sort of thing. So he was using that for his furniture store at that stage. So it's actually not in bad shape, but again, it doesn't meet any fire standards.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any proper alarm systems or wiring or plumbing or anything. So
Or water.
literally starting from scratch on that one.
Very good. Do you get any pushback or anything on a project like this? You know, because it's so I would say it's very centred to the town. A lot of communities involved. Do you feel any pushback, or
a little bit? I mean, I wouldn't say pushback's the right word. I suppose some apprehension as to how did an Irish language get such a an Irish language group get such a landmark building, which has its roots in the plantation. I suppose from the Salters. I mean, the Salters.
Yeah, that's our town.
The Salters put the money into that originally, again, there's an inevitability. The Irish language, as much as we like to think otherwise, is still heavily politicised in both sides. So it's inevitable. I think that there's going to be some apprehension and concern there. But I think the messaging that we're putting out is that it's absolutely going to be for the whole community. It wouldn't be successful otherwise. This isn't, the Falls Road, or it isn't the Bog side where you could put something like that in and it'll be self-sustaining with the community there. I mean, Magherafelt is such a diverse community, and we've all got on pretty well together over the years. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't open it up to the whole town and hire out meeting space and hire out office space and that sort of thing as well. So very much try and get an open space that the whole community can use.
Shared space.
Shared space. That's it.
I mean, if somebody wants to go in there and take on French classes or Spanish classes, then they're very welcome to do that. Ulster Scots if they want, like Scotch Gaelic, anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome.
I think the only pushback you'd maybe get is like a developer being really annoyed that they didn't get that space.
Look, I mean, that's the crux of it. I mean, the amount of money that's going to take to get in there, to make money out of that would be pretty tight, I would think. It would be really tough to make money.
Oh, do you think so? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why it
just sat there
for so long. And again, I think the fact that we're a charitable organisation and we're reliant on funding, we're not trying to make money out of it. No. We'll just build it as we go.
Perfect use for it then, really.
Yeah, we'll build it as we go. So a lot of excitement. I think say the Chamber of Commerce and the local retails and shop people are keen to get something in there, 100%. Tidy the place up and start bringing people into the town. So
it's going to drive people into the town, as you say there,
exactly.
like from other areas. It's going to be.
I mean, even the classes that Siobhan and Eimear are running, they're coming from everywhere: Donegal, Derry, Belfast.
We have a course.
I was going to ask that.
First March.
We have a one-day course next Saturday, and they're coming from Donegal, Derry, all over. And like this time last year, we run them 2 or 3 times a year. This time last year we had 50 people. This year we've 95.
Wow,
so
double.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. And the night classes are the same. We registered 98 this year, and last year we registered about 60, and the year before that 30.
We were chatting there about Owen before the podcast, and just thinking about the guys in the gym. Yeah. I know about 5 or 6 at the minute that are at classes that are learning Irish. Like there's such a massive research.
I know there's a couple in the gym because one had got them to contact me.
Is that who it is? You're the woman in the
younger
know.
Ones come into the class. For a long time it was just like the older generation, but there's an awful lot of younger ones.
What are you putting that down to?
Kneecap.
What's the take?
It definitely has made. There's been a big impact. There's no doubt on 100%. The younger people, but we're getting a lot more older people too.
Yeah,
which are coming back to the language that maybe did it at school, and they're maybe in their 60s, even 70s now, and they did A level, and they're coming back. And I don't think that's because of Kneecap, but I just think because Kneecap have put it out there, and people are far more connected to it now, to the language. And it has there's sort of an excitement around it.
There's a resurgence of it. I think
is,
Kneecap definitely helped that, but there's more that's going on in the background than that. I think before even Kneecap became massive.
There was a shift anyway. You could feel it, you could see it. I mean, we've seen it in our numbers.
You appreciate their megaphone by doing it, but there was a lot of stuff happening before that, and you could feel that already, for sure.
I think there's more of an acceptance now as well, that it's it's not one side of the community.
No, it's not.
And we do get people from both sides of the community coming to the classes and trying to get involved. So, it's you know, it's definitely more open and accessible than maybe it has been in the past, and you know, it's definitely being seen differently than maybe it was even 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's just I'd love to learn it, but I was one of those. You know the way you were great at language, I struggled so much with languages.
Yeah,
I was
like
really bad. So, but I'd love to take the time to.
What was your school experience like with Irish?
It was similar to what June said. Like you weren't really encouraged to do it.
No.
Well, Graeme went to Rennie, he was never going to be encouraged.
It was true. Yeah.
But even when I was at school, I mean, my mates all went to a convent, so at that stage the convent actually made you do Irish as a GCSE.
Well, we had to.
Yeah.
No, well, did we have to do
Up to third year.
up to third year?
Yeah,
it's up to third year.
Up to third year.
Yeah, I think so. It was compulsory, and I think that was half the stigma with it. Everybody associated Irish with their school days, and they were. Yeah, it was just
I think so.
drilled-
I think so.
drilled into them.
Aye.
Oh, it was. I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm not a teacher, but it was horrendous. I don't know what they were teaching me at all. Like,
and I think
it was
that's
just. It was just basically just shouting stuff at a. Honestly, it was just shouting stuff at a board, and I was just like, what, you know?
Yeah.
And it never got into me at all. Like,
I think
at school.
there was a
And
scene.
it has recently, but it back then I was like, what are they teaching me?
There was a scene in the Kneecap movie, Jude, I don't know if you remember it as well, where the teachers teaching the kids and they were talking about in the school books about bog. Was it bog or turf? They were doing bog or turf, and they're like, "What's turf, sir?" It's like a Belfast school, and you're like, "Right, okay, this isn't going to inspire anyone to learn."
Like complaining about the boring
the
books.
literature is like,
It's a good
even the that's why the girls decided to set up the youth club side of it, because even our kids, I mean, you try to speak to Amy in Irish at home and she'd have just answered you in English a lot of the time. It was trying to break that cycle of Irish is for school and English is for outside of school. So that's the reason for just setting up the youth club, to try and break that cycle and I know
Very good,
take them on away days and that sort of thing, where Irish was the language to
get some using it in real life as well, I suppose too.
absolutely.
like Anne Karen with a cafe now as well, you know.
Yeah.
So that was always the plan there as well, so you can get in there and you can use your Irish, which you can in Belfast and places anyway, and you have been able to for a long time. But Anne Karen or Anne Cree, as the cafe is, they have Irish speaking staff in there, and it's fabulous, and that's what it's all about, is a living language, not just to be contained into a night class or whatever, you know.
Here's a lovely fry in there.
That's class.
My brother's a chef in there also.
The food's fantastic. Remember we had your night on it.
The wee lunch night.
That lunch night, the
Food
food
was
in there
class.
was
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's good, isn't it?
So good. Speaking of the sort of local sort of classes and stuff, what way do you do it now? You know, tell us about a calendar year at the moment for you, for the likes of.
Well, we would work more or less roughly along with school term times, probably more like university term times. So we would do a couple of 12-week blocks, usually 10 to 12-week blocks, starting in late September, early October, run up to Christmas, and then again from about end of January till Easter time. And then we, in between times, we'd run maybe 3 one-day courses, which would be from 10 to 3. And then we would run a summer school as well for adults, which would be a week in the summer. But we also do Gaeltacht trips, so we would take adults and go to the Gaeltacht. And we actually stay in houses with Banatees, like they would have done, you know, kids at the Gaeltacht, which is a great experience. And a lot of those adults, including myself, never had that experience. I know Eimear did. When
Did
she
you go
was
to
at school.
Gaeltacht?
She did,
Yeah, I went to Gaeltacht for 3 years.
My brother did the summer trip. You know,
I done Teelan for 2 years and Mahorty for a year, so yeah.
He loved it. He said it was brilliant.
It was the best summers.
And that's what people remember, that like people always remember Gaeltacht trips, but myself and a lot of other adults like me never had the opportunity to do that, so we're giving people that opportunity now.
That's
and
fantastic.
It is
That's so
fantastic, and we look forward to that every year ourselves. You know, we nearly organise it so we can go because they're fabulous.
What Donegal
And I mean,
is that?
we go to Gidor
We go to
normally.
Gidor,
Down to Gidor, but also like there's so many groups. It's not just like Magherafelt. Obviously, there's like Balna Screen and Carn. Every like I think the Loop 2 classes.
The Loop have started classes. They
Money
only started
Glass
them
are
there in
starting
September.
classes. They're just literally everywhere now at the moment.
And I think that's the thing, that like lessons are more accessible now, so people can access them anywhere.
We have no excuse to.
Nope.
And during COVID, they were on Zoom as well. Like the classes continue.
Some of them are still on Zoom. Doesn't Buzz still do?
He does both. I think he does hybrid now.
Very good. What way does your classes work then? Obviously, different levels.
Yeah, so we have.
What way? If I was to be a learner over, say, the next 5 years or whatever it is, or longer, what would be the best steps for me to sort of maybe take that journey through the education?
If you were coming in from scratch with no Irish
Completely
at all.
from scratch,
Okay.
real life here.
Well, you just straight into the Bunrang, which is the first class. You'd probably spend a year. Do you know what? It would depend on how much work you've done outside of the class. It's like anything. If you go to a class 1 hour a week and don't open a book and till the following week, you ain't going anywhere.
Do you give like homework assignments or anything?
Some of the
like
teachers would, but not so much really. Maybe more in the beginning.
It's more independent learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do it, go do it.
Well, exactly. I mean, they're grown-ups. You can't really make them.
You can't force.
Where's your homework?
But that puts people off as well, because if they know there's homework that's due, then people don't go because they haven't done it.
It's PTSD.
I mean, every week the classes start 7:30 to 9 on a Tuesday night for anybody's interested, and every week, maybe from 6:30 on, my phone starts pinging, and then they'd be like, "That's somebody crying. No, I wonder who's crying all the night," and they're like, "Sorry, I can't come tonight." They're grown ups.
The dog
They feel the need to tell me. Could you tell the teacher? These are people in their 50s and 60s. Sorry, I'm not feeling well. Sorry, I had to work. And I feel like saying, it's fine. You don't have to come. You don't have to tell us you're not coming. But then I think that might come across rude, and it really isn't.
The
It
attendance
doesn't mean
officer's
to
not
be.
going to come out now.
Your parents are getting fined if you don't come to your
fine.
Irish.
Yeah. But I mean, I know people that have come into Irish with nothing, and after 2 or 3 years they're almost fluent. And I know people have been learning for 10 years and they could still barely hold a conversation. Good friend of mine, he's actually our high level teacher now in our night classes. He's also a translator, and he went to Remy. I had no Irish at all.
Translated in Brussels, didn't he?
Yeah.
Went to Brussels to work as a
Yeah.
translator.
And he now works here as a translator, so as an Irish language translator. So
And he maybe only started like 10, 15 years ago, like not,
like much
So,
later in life.
what is the levels then? Like, I know it probably doesn't really matter how long. It depends on the effort. But what is the actual levels then? You mentioned you maybe do something for a year. But
Well, you have your first class, which is called the Bunrang, and then you've got your we call it, there's different people call it different things. We call it Manrang, Eightrack, Manrang, Eightrack, which is lower and upper, intermediate, if you like, and then your Ardrang, which is like hard. So that's how people remember it. And then there's a Crinus, which is an accuracy level. But people generally, I would say, over about 5 years, they would move through all of those, would they, Eimear? Would you say?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe not
Try
the
to.
Crinus.
But again, depending on each person, like.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
you get out what you put in, that's the thing. We get people come every year, and they come for about 3 lessons, and they don't come back. And then they come back the next year and say, I'm definitely doing it this year. And they do the same
And then
again.
some people come because they want to be with a certain teacher,
Yeah.
and they don't want to move up to the next class or whatever.
Yeah, and
so
they stay and they refuse to move, and like, but you need to move up now. No.
you have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone sometimes.
I like my teacher.
We get a lot of that. That's true.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that immersion thing as well that you're talking about. You learn a few things on Duolingo, but until you actually get out there, and even if you know that you're going to say a couple of things and somebody's going to say something that you're not going to understand, it doesn't matter. You just keep plugging away and using what you can and saying what you have, and broken Irish and usually throwing in a few English words and phrases just to get you over the line so that somebody understands.
But that's the hard bit for adults. Really struggle with confidence of speaking a language. Kids don't have that problem.
We're
Do
worried
less
about making
fear about it.
mistakes. Kids don't care.
Children don't have that instinct.
I have a granddaughter who rarely speaks English to me. Most, like 95% of the time, she'll speak Irish to me. And if there's a word that she doesn't know, she'll just throw in an English one and then she'll carry on in Irish. Whereas with adults, once they start struggling, they'll
just
revert
Yeah.
back into English. And that's the difference.
And I mean, if you think of the number of foreigners in the town now who you would have a chat with and then maybe say, I goed instead of I went.
Yeah.
You understand it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you're
that's it.
Here, you said that wrong.
And we don't use English properly anyway, so
Exactly,
like,
it's not as if we're fluent in that language either.
But I mean, all that, that's all easy to say, but for adults, it's a real confidence thing. We've seen it year in, year out.
That was the
Definitely.
thing we faced with the kids as well. Well, the kids, people would have said, the kids did their Irish GCSE when they were in P7.
Yeah,
They did so they left primary school with the GCSE.
I remember that. I remember people coming into St. Pat's with that.
You would have had people saying, "Well, of course they got an A. What else would you expect?" And I said, "Well, did you get an A in your English?"
A P7.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just they're learning through Irish and they're doing an exam. Doesn't give them a right to get an A. No. Just so. There's a misconception out there that they must be absolutely brilliant at and they're going to get A's their whole way through. But say the fact of the matter is not everybody got A's in English at school or in English lit. So it's sort of just breaking down those misconceptions a bit as well.
I barely passed my English. I was still surprised.
I did English and English lit, and English lit was absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And then I did French A level, which was a combination of French language and French literature as well. I had to analyse 3 books in French. And
you're very hard on yourself.
Well, you were talking about the school days there.
Sounds like tough.
You're talking about the school days. I had on Friday, my first job was actually working for Robin Kennedy, who I mentioned there. And on Fridays, I had 3 periods to start with, and 2 of them were double French. And then I had 5 free periods, and then 1 class to finish with in the evening. So I got into a stage where I had said to Robin, do you want me to do a couple of hours on Friday? So I'd have skipped school then on Fridays and gone up because I didn't want to do double French. and then I had Bill Hagan, God rest him, he found out that I was skipping school to miss double French, and then I was playing rugby on Saturday. He said I was sick on Friday and playing rugby on Saturday. And so we had a good old laugh about that after I left school with Bill. He was a great character.
Brilliant.
A question here, just opportunities in the local area. What do you see? What do you see in the area? What's the opportunity here at the moment?
For what?
Just for the community that you're trying to build. What's the opportunity?
Well, I think again it's trying to get people in and getting that revitalisation around the market yard and the town centre. And if we can do that while promoting the Irish language, I think everybody wins out of that. So it's it'll be a big thing for us if we can get the market yard back up and running, and it's an Irish language group that's done it, and it is seen as an open house, a shared space for everybody. I think that'll be massive, not just for us but for the town itself, to try and get that back up and running in some form or fashion. Say a long road ahead of us, but we're at a start. And as I say, if I look back where we came from whenever we started
you look at the school and everything,
so 2 schools.
Oh, it's incredible. I didn't coming in here, I didn't know that. So whenever you start messing, I go, right, we're stopping here, need to rewind and talk about this. So that's incredible.
I mean, to open a school is pretty massive.
It's pretty ballsy.
The market yard would be no problem for you.
Just go back to a point you made earlier about pushback. I mean, there's always going to be pushback as far as the language goes. Unfortunately, that's just life. But there's work been done, and so Linda Irving's doing sterling work around East Belfast. I mean, their night classes there, they've got hundreds attend, literally hundreds.
Jill keeps talking about it.
Yeah.
East Belfast.
Yeah. A good friend of mine actually works with her now. He actually used to work for Carn Niall Gaeltacht, and he's now working with Taurus in Belfast, delivering night classes. And they literally have got hundreds attending their classes. So, it's just, but you're never going to convince everybody off.
Breaking those barriers.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But the fact that's happening is...
In East Belfast?
East Belfast.
Absolutely.
We had a guy on a couple of times in the podcast. Remember Lee Costello?
Mm-hmm.
He I don't know if he actually set it up, but he was one of the ones that helped with East Belfast.
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't set it up.
No, he didn't set it up, but he was a part of the...
He pays for it.
In some way.
He pays for it.
Well, just our fact checker. You see what happened there?
He's going to come on me with it.
Lee had nothing to do with it. All right? And that's
But it's
it.
nice for a lot of them people moving to Belfast. They still want to play Gaelic, like, you know.
Oh,
They've got the team there now, you know.
Yeah, definitely. How can listeners get involved?
Contact Siobhan.
We'll put our number up on the.
We'll just flash the balls. We'll put the number up.
Everybody has my number.
Don't worry about it.
Everybody has my number and my email address, and it's on the council website. But yeah,
We're on Facebook.
we're on
Instagram.
we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Trying to get TikTok up and running.
Yeah,
Trying to get a
We're
website.
trying to get.
So are we.
Trying to get a website.
Well, do you know what? That's what we're doing. Yes.
That's the plan.
But yeah, I mean, like I am the main contact. My email is siobhanglormf@gmail.com.
Yep, I'll put that up. Jenny, right, I will put that up.
And yeah, and my telephone number is out there in the ether as well.
I'll stick it up too.
I was just saying when I get a new phone, the next time I'm just going to change my own personal number and just keep that number because I can never change that number now. Because that's the number that everybody
that's a good
has.
idea.
It would be easier just to tell my very few family and friends what my new number is. Every poster and every advertising you'll see, it'll say on the bottom, contact Siobhan.
So we're trying to get a website up and running as well at the minute to allow people to book onto classes directly and rather than having to ring Siobhan and text Siobhan and
Email Siobhan at 3 o'clock in the morning and
It's,
12 o'clock at night and literally
try and get a booking system up and running just to make it a little bit simpler as well, and also use it. I think we want to try and keep people informed of what's happening with the market yard as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Give people to your point. We were asking what's inside it. Have you seen inside it? You know,
Give them up.
Yeah.
95% of the
I'd
time
love
it's
to
probably
see that.
never stepped foot
Definitely
in
get
it.
some of that up.
You
The
know,
time would
so-
be really interested.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
In terms of the market yard, even and based upon everything you're doing, is there anything else you're thinking about that people can get involved in? You know, is there people you need to hear from? You know, for the market yard redevelopment, you need to. You know, is there people you're going to need, if you know what I mean?
I think there will be. You're talking about philanthropists with a load of money sitting burning holes in their pocket would be great. But again, we've sort of appointed a QS and we've appointed an architect at this, so we're still at very early stages. But you know, we're going to need people coming in even just to help out clear the yard. The yard's a pretty bad mess at the minute. Just needs a bit of a weeding and a bit of a gutting, you know. So I think that'll be the next thing is try and get that cleaned up and get volunteers coming in, and we sort of take it from there and see what comes of it.
Very good. I think we'll finish it up there, guys. Thank you very much, Graeme, Siobhan, and Eimear. Jude, did you have a good time?
Unbelievable.
Fergal?
Cool.
I really enjoyed it. This was very informative.
Where can we hear from you again? So you're on Facebook,
Instagram, and we're just sort of setting up TikTok.
thinking about TikTok.
Maybe.
I think it's set up, but it's not really.
Yeah.
There will be a website coming soon.
Brilliant.
Very good.
Glór Mhachaire Fíolta is the Facebook
Well, the name of
page.
the group,
Yeah.
and siobhanglormf@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invite.
Did you have a good time, Fergal?
I had a fantastic time.
Fantastic
Thank
time
you
as
guys.
well.
Thank you.
Thank you to all our listeners. Really appreciate you all. We're about 4,500 now a month listening. Don't know why, but they're listening. Appreciate them all. Thank you very much. And we'll cue the bore on. And thank you very much, guys, for coming on.
All right, thanks a million. Cheers.
That was brilliant.
We're clear.
That's it.